Oh, so they would have been using the butter. This is Wild Yarns with Samara and Sheri. And welcome back to Wild Yarns. This is Sheri and Samara, and today we are talking everything to do with dodgy ass landlords, real estate, and roommates. So we have got a really good episode coming up for this one because so many of you guys sent in such crazy and wild stories about your experiences.
It was one, and I guess at the moment, like, there's no sugarcoating it. There is a housing crisis, but I did not expect the amount of stories to be written in and just stuff that got written in. So thanks, everybody, for sending it in. But, yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I guess everyone's got a story about living with people and shitty things happening in the rental space.
Yeah. And I think especially at the moment, landlords and real estates are not well liked in Australia.
Not at all. They're definitely not everyone's favourite people. And I guess it's just shit. It's a shit situation, you know. The cost of living is steeply rising. And Sheri, you've just moved and you've had to pay, we were talking about it before we jumped on air, $200 a week more for
in the same area, the exact same place, like townhouse, exact same basically, extra $200.
That is insane. I actually bought a place right before everything went really crazy, and I'm fortunately at the moment, and I'm one of those people that got a 2% home loan. So I know at the moment I'm like in my little fixed rate bubble, but I know that's going to end very soon, and I'm going to be battling on with everyone else. But before that, I spent a lot of time. I guess it's a rite of passage. You move out of home and you move into maybe a share house. I guess when you're a young person, you don't have a huge amount of money. It's a luxury to be able to live on your own, you know. And I moved into a share house in Caxton Street, which was, for those of you not from Queensland, Caxton Street's the street. I used to live right across the road from Suncorp Stadium. So there were always like drunk people in my front yard. And I wasn't even into footy then, so I never even took advantage of it. But I went from there to living in a few other share houses. I am very fortunate that most of the people I live with were legends. Like, in terms of my own personal stories, most of the people I lived with were really, really amazing. And I just randomly met them. They weren't necessarily friends of mine or anything like that. I don't know, I'd heard a lot of bad stories about people living with friends, so I was like, that never really appealed to me to move in with a friend because I was like, oh, I don't want this to go south. But yeah, I had a pretty good run of living through there. I moved into this place on my own and lived there for a little bit. It was a bit sketchy. I lived in Bowen Hills and it was definitely the sketchier side of Bowen Hills, but my dramas didn't really kick in until I moved out. And I had a bit of an am I the asshole moment really of my own where I was moving out. It was when I bought my house. So I'd given the real estate ample notice. I was going to be breaking my lease a little bit earlier. And they just made it so hard for me to break lease. And it's not something, they weren't properly advertising the place online, so people couldn't. It was around the time that there was starting to become a rental crisis. So everyone else's apartments would get posted online, and there would be a line out the door of people going to see the apartments to move in. My house, because I'd have to clean it and get out, they'd say, oh, no one came through. And I'm like, this is crazy because this is an apartment in the middle of Bowen Hills. It was fairly cheap. It wasn't the nicest apartment. So they were a bit challenging there to move out. I ended up having to, what was the real, and this is completely insane, when I eventually moved out, I ran into the body corporate guy. They had on-site body corporate living there. And I ran into him on my way out. And he said, hey, because he was sort of coming and going from my apartment as well. And he said, just leave the keys in the mailbox. I've got to go back in there anyways. And I was like, okay, cool. I left the keys in my mailbox. The mailbox was unlocked. I assumed from that point on that he was going to just get them out and go in. And I was like, cool, fair enough. The real estate had actually, in that meantime, between seeing him, sent me an email saying, hey, can you leave them on the bench in the house? And I was like, oh, look, I've already run into the body corporate guy. He's coming and going from the apartment. He told me to leave them in the mailbox. By the way, they're in the mailbox. Just get him off him. And they were like, oh, they didn't really reply back to me or say anything back. They were such assholes and such pains in the necks to deal with. I found out, I went away on holidays. Somebody had gone through the mailboxes one night, a crackhead, gotten the keys out, then gone into my old apartment, started doing crack in the apartment because the man hadn't taken the keys out of the mailbox. Then had been wandering around. Eventually the guy, because he was on site, someone said, oh, there's a crackhead like living in the apartment. He's gone and removed this crackhead and got the keys back off her. I got this monster bill. It was something because it was a certain kind of fob. It was like $1,000 to get the keys changed. It had to go through RTA. I had to go through mediation because I was like, I'm getting conflicting things here. This is not fair. I was told one thing by this person, one thing by this person. He was coming and going from my property. You know, had I known I would never have left the keys in the mailbox all weekend. I could have very easily just left them on the counter. I thought I was doing you a solid. Went through mediation and they still made me pay $500. I just couldn't get out of it. They're like, no, there was an email sent. And I'm like, what was I supposed to do? Like, it just seemed to be just such a... I felt really stitched up. And then after leaving, I was like, fuck this. I'm not renting for a while. I'm buying somewhere. Fuck this. And I feel like having had all these stories sent in that we have had sent in, I got off easy because people are getting royally fucked over in very similar situations. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and just like the dynamics as well with living in a share house. Like, I've lived in quite a few share houses. I lived in London, so that was the only option was a shared house. And I've had, like, I didn't really have any, like, too particularly bad stories. I've got, like, a few funny stories. There was one share house I lived in, which was, like, we all just rented a room off, like, the landlord. And I didn't know at the time, but I was the only girl that was going to be living there, and there was 5 other guys, and they all had their, like, rooms, which was, like, no big deal. Like, they were really lovely guys. But when I first moved in, I picked this place in particular because it had, like, a washing machine and a dryer, and it had, like, you know, all of these amenities that if you've ever lived in London, you know that, like, a washing machine in a share house is a luxury because most people have... Yeah. It's not a standard thing, and most people have to use, like, the laundromat. And I was like, I really don't want to have to, like, waste every week going to the laundromat. So I pick this place, and I get there and nothing's working. Like, because I only saw photos, and I was like, whatever, it's a room. I get there, there's no shower head. The water was just coming directly out of the wall.
Hose?
Yes.
Or was it, like, just out of the wall? Just
So, like, there was once a shower head there, but no longer. And it literally just was, like, if you turned it on strong, it would hit the other side of the wall. Or if you turned it on weak, it would just, like, drizzle down.
It's like the dog wash things that are at parks.
And the sink in the bathroom didn't work. So all these guys were just brushing their teeth in the kitchen sink because washing machine wasn't working. There was just a whole bunch of things broken. And I said to them, like, have you, like, how long's this been broken? They're like, oh, yeah, for a while now. We just go down to the laundromat. And I'm like, and with the, like, because there was no hot water either. I'm like, how are you, in London, in winter, I'm like, how are you guys showering? They're like, oh, we kind of just, like, quickly jump in, jump out. Like, it's really cold.
Wim Hof.
Yeah.
They're doing the cold breathing.
And so then I, like, was like, what's the real estate said? And they're like, oh, we haven't told the real estate. And I was just
Did you tell them?
Yeah, I called them up and I was like, hey, like, I rented this with these, like, included in the rent. Like, until these are fixed, I want a discount. Like, because I'm now going to have to spend time to go to laundromat. I can't shower here. Like, all of these things. So that I had to go to the gym. Within, like, 3 days, they had people out fixing stuff.
So they've just been roughing it for no reason.
Because it was a bunch of guys and none of them thought maybe we should let someone know that stuff's broken.
Dumbasses.
I know.
Fucking
and
dumbasses.
But then after that, they thought I was the most amazing person because I got everything fixed within the space of a week and they could have showers and wash their clothes.
Oh, my gosh. And also not brush their teeth
in the kitchen sink.
That's gross.
But that same apartment, I remember coming home and there was like 2 Italian guys that like lived in a room, because it was quite common in like London that you would share rooms as well.
Really?
Like I was like, no, I am going to be by myself. I have my own room. But because it's just so expensive to live there, a lot of people will just opt for a shared room.
Yep.
These 2 guys knew each other. They were already friends, so like all good. Because a lot of people will come to London for like the year or something just to be in London, party, do all of that sort of thing. And there was 2 other Irish guys that lived in another room, and that was literally their intention, was just to work and party and do. Their goal was to hit every nightclub in London.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I remember coming home one day and I just got hit with like this massive smell of weed. I opened the front door and it was just like so strong. I walk upstairs and one of the Italian dudes is sitting at the kitchen bench with the biggest pile of weed you've ever seen. It was mounted up. He's just sitting there cutting it up, and he literally looks up at me and he goes, "Man, I am one high banana right now." To put it in context, he was only wearing a banana costume.
What? Why? Oh my God, they sound like actually fun people.
They were hilarious, but just imagine walking in and one of your housemates that, you know, he's sitting there in a giant banana costume with nothing else on but the banana costume.
That's hilarious.
With the biggest pile of weed, just cutting up and goes, "I am one high banana right now." And basically it was because the next day was a very big festival happening in London and he was preparing for it.
Yeah.
And then we had like one other guy and he couldn't speak like next to no English, and we had no idea what his name was. And basically, to put it into context, we called him Harry Potter because when you first walked into our apartment, there was stairs that went straight up, but there was a room. And we'd never seen in that room, but we knew it was his room. So basically he had a room under the stairs. And then you'd go upstairs and there would be like the kitchen, like lounge room and all the other bedrooms. And we just all kind of were like thinking, well, it must be like decently sized because it's right under where the kitchen is. So it's probably going to be like that same size. And he moves out one day, and because we've never seen inside it. And we're like, now's our time to see it. It was literally, he was Harry Potter. He was living Harry Potter's life.
It's just tiny.
There was no way he could have fit a single mattress in there.
Fucking hell.
It was.
What did he have in there? Like a dog
We
bed?
had no idea how a grown man slept in there. Because I was like, he must have had to sleep like diagonal to be able to be fully stretched out. I was like, I can't believe that they thought this was like acceptable to rent out. No windows, no nothing. It was basically an under the stairs. Like that was what, and he was renting it.
Fuck. Did, I guess he never brought anyone home.
Well, no, like we really
He's
didn't
not
know.
going under the steps.
Yeah. But we always were like, oh, he always spent a lot of time in the kitchen. And we're like, well, now that all makes sense. But yeah, we joked about the Harry Potter, but he was living it.
Yeah, right. And was it still quite expensive to live in London?
Yes, yeah, it was.
So your room would be, even if it is under the stairs, a shitty room, it was still super expensive.
Yeah.
So, as we mentioned, we had so many stories written in, which was really funny. And I didn't realise how many people shit places they shouldn't shit until I read through the stories you guys sent in. So thanks for sending it in. I didn't really know that. But here we go. And yeah, I need to really, like, in all of my times living with people, I've never had anything this outrageous happen. My gosh. So I'll kick off with one of the outrageous ones. I was away for the weekend and my housemate faced an epic but not unusual bathroom dilemma. No toilet paper left. Instead of the normal solution, they spied my pristine white Sheridan towel hanging innocently on a bathroom hook. Soft, absorbent and conveniently there, they must have thought, why not, and committed the unthinkable. They wiped their dirty ass on my towel. But it gets wilder. They later felt guilty or realised how absurd their choice was and fished my towel out of the bin after treating it more or less like an eco-friendly diaper. This is when I noticed the stains on it. When I asked what happened to my towel, their audacity was off the charts, dealing, it'll be fine after a wash, just like a cloth nappy. And that's how my Sheridan towel became the unsung hero of our toilet paper crisis. How gross.
Did he just, like, put it back on the hook?
That was from a female. They were 2 girls.
2 girls?
2 girls. I know.
So she took it out of the rubbish bin and then she just, like, place it back on the hook that it was on, or did she put it in the wash?
So what happened is that toilet paper was on, ran out of toilet paper, did a poo, wiped the bum on the towel, chucked it in the bin, disposed of it, but then felt bad and got it out. And I think the person that wrote in was asking about, hey, where's the towel at? And then when they saw how stained it was, they were like, what the fuck? And the housemate was like, oh, no, just wash it. It's like the old school days with the cloth nappies.
Yeah, if it comes to, like, you have to do that, I feel like it should be on you to wash it or replace it.
Yes. Yeah, that happened. And I was like, and it was so earth-shattering to me because I was like, nothing, like, here I am, like, bitchy, like a cracky went into my apartment. I wasn't there, thank God. But, like, nothing like that had happened to me at all. I got a couple of other ones that were just crazy. This one kicks off pretty strong. I once got a lady at the real estate fired because I asked to end my lease when I was pregnant in Queensland and she tried to physically hit me.
What?
Yeah. My usual real estate agent was unavailable, so I had to deal with the boss. Let's call her Mrs. Furious. My partner and I wanted to break our lease, but Mrs. Furious didn't take too kindly to our request. She called us just kids and suggested that we were clueless. Things took a bizarre turn when I revealed I was pregnant and that we needed more space than our cramped Fortitude Valley studio could offer. Mrs. Furious erupted in anger and actually stood up, attempting to hit me. Thankfully, my partner stepped in to prevent any fisticuffs, and fortunately, the receptionist promptly reported the incident to their big boss. In the end, Mrs. Furious found herself in the unemployment line. I don't actually remember a lot about the incident outside of crying heaps. How traumatic.
Why would she get so upset that someone's breaking their lease? Like, it's
so worked up.
Would that normally, like, surely that's like something like a regular occurrence for a real estate to deal with. Like, totally. It's just a part of the job.
Very triggered, and that was Kelly, a friend of mine, sent that one in. She would have been in her mid-20s pregnant, and I don't know what triggered this woman so much. That was, she gave me I won't say the name of the real estate, but she gave me the name of them. But it's one in the valley, and yeah, they were just so shocked. They just went do a very normal thing, which is break a lease because they were pregnant, baby was coming, they only had a studio apartment, and this woman lost her mind.
Jeez.
That is shocking. Anyways, strap yourself in. So a mate of mine shit in someone's butter container and then put it back in the fridge. The story basically goes, after we all left school, a friend of mine and I moved to Sydney. We both moved to Sydney at the same time. I moved in with family and he moved in with a group of mutual friends that we both knew. Over time, the relationship obviously started to deteriorate. A bunch of young guys all living together, you can imagine the squalor and filth that they were actually living in. Everyone was getting on each other's nerves, living in each other's pockets. That happens when you're an 18-year-old kid living with your mates. Anyways, the time came for someone to move out to keep the peace, and my mate was the one who decided to escape the house. When he moved out, obviously he didn't move out on the best terms. So as a parting gift, what he did was took all his stuff out of the house and went to the fridge to look for some beers to take. Instead, then he turned his attention to the butter. He took the container out of the fridge, scraped out all of the butter out of the container, and proceeded to do a huge shit. He then put the shit in the butter container and then put all the butter that he had scraped out back on top of the shit and put it back into the fridge. He said a little fuck you to the place and then left. He didn't say anything to anyone. He didn't leave a notice. He didn't leave a note. He just left. It wasn't until weeks later that he got a really abusive phone call from his old housemate, ripping right into him about how foul and fucked up that what he did was.
Oh, so they would have been using the butter.
So he'd packed the shit, and because the
and
shit
then
was
put
in
the
the
butter
fridge,
on top.
the butter's sealed the shit under there. So if he's done, hidden it, they would have been using the butter and then eventually hit the shit.
How fucked up in the head do you have to be to think about doing that?
I know, like how that's like, oh, I get it. Like, take a few beers.
I couldn't steal a few beers. My next option was to shit in the butter.
When I had that was sent in, and the person wants to remain anonymous.
No wonder.
But a group of dudes living together in Sydney, and he did that. That is the ultimate fuck you, though. Like, and the butter, and he said it didn't stink or anything like that because the butter sort of
like sealed it because it's like it's a layer of fat.
Yeah, and it was in the fridge, so no one knew about it until they eventually, scraped a bit down and got to the shit.
I would never be able to eat butter again.
Yeah.
Like, that would be traumatizing.
Yeah. So that happened to them, and I was like, those are the few stories I got sent in, and I was like, I didn't, like, here I am like, this is fucked. I'm on easy street. It is, no one has shit in my butter container. Nothing that wild has happened. Like, that's it.
That is next level. If I couldn't take a few beers, definitely not the next step I would have done.
Yeah.
But you never know with teenage guys.
Yeah, and they're fresh out of school, like, no life skills yet. Nothing about that.
Other than being able to shit in butter and...
That's it. So those were my stories, which I was like, this is shocking.
Okay, so this next story that I'm going to read for you guys is from Reddit, and it's from Am I the Arsehole? Am I the arsehole for being pissed at my flatmate for taking plant cuttings without asking?
After hearing about someone's shit and butter, you're just like...
plants, whatever.
Do whatever you want. Anyways, go on.
This girl recently moved into our flat. Within 1 month of her moving in, I had noticed that some of my plants looked like someone had taken some cuttings. It was only 1 or 2 plants, but I didn't think much of it anyway. A week later, I noticed someone had taken more cuttings from my plants, in particular my pothos plant. This one only had 4 leaves, so it was really obvious when the new leaf had been taken. I decided to ask everyone in the house about it. The new girl admitted to doing it. I told her it's okay, but to next time just ask. Fast forward 3 weeks and more cuttings are missing and more plants are missing. It's becoming noticeable even on my mature plants that are quite full. I knew it was her doing this, but I'd never seen what she was doing with them. Today, I had to return her lighter after I'd used it. She wasn't home, so I just decided to put it in her room. In her room, I saw in the corner that there was 15 pots of cuttings from all different houseplants of mine, along with 6 different bottles full of water with more cuttings in them. Am I the arsehole for being angry about this? I think I should confront her, but my partner thinks I should just let this go. Just a side note, I did spend a lot of time and money on these, especially the variegated ones, which I noticed she did take lots of cuttings of.
Oh, I would be so annoyed. And especially I feel like the plant mummies and daddies, like, I mean, I'm not so precious about my plants, but that would annoy me. I don't think they're the arsehole. I think the plant cutter's probably the arsehole. But.
Yeah, especially after, like, you got told not to. It's not your property.
Yeah,
you don't get the right to cut it. And I think, like, we've got a friend that's very into plants, Rachel. She loves her plants, but, like, I did not realize how expensive some plants are. The really rare ones that she has spent so much money on them.
Yeah.
So for this person to be taking cuttings is probably going to be on selling, because I don't know why you'd be taking that many cuttings and propagating them is probably like raking in some cash off their theft.
Yes. And well, in this economy, you're stealing plants from your housemates. My gosh.
And I think too, like her partner's like, oh, she just let it go. It's like, I feel like if this housemate was doing something of yours, like maybe even just taking some of your food every day, you would get eventually quite annoyed. It's not just like, oh yeah, I used your butter once. Too soon. If they were like using all of your food every day, you'd be like, you need to buy your own, like stop this. And if they continue to do that, you'd be like, this is not okay.
Yeah. What did they get?
So she got voted not the arsehole. Which,
fair. Yep.
Someone said, any plant enthusiast knows not to take cuttings without asking for permission first. You can accidentally end up killing the plant that you're taking a cutting from if the scissors have bacteria on them.
Yeah, true.
A next person wrote, she's stealing from you and might possibly be harming your plants. I would say something, and if it doesn't stop, I would see the next steps as setting up a camera for evidence. She doesn't seem like the person that would be honest about what she was doing with the cuttings.
Yeah, you're on the money.
Yeah, and most people are just saying all the same things. Like, it's pretty clear she is stealing. It doesn't matter what she's stealing, she is stealing.
Oof.
I actually did live with someone, and it wasn't them, it was their girlfriend that stole. So I was living in, once again, a share house. So I had, we were all quite good friends that lived in this shared house, and I had moved out to go to London, and this had happened as I had moved out, so I found out all the drama from, like, everyone messaging me. But basically, there was 3 girls, so me plus 2 other girls and 1 guy, and we all got along really well, but he got a girlfriend, and that's where, like, the drama started to cause. But basically, she stole a gift voucher from one of the girls that was given to her by her boyfriend for her birthday. And it was like a $500 gift voucher from a store. And originally, the girl that got the gift voucher stolen from thought she had just lost it. So her boyfriend gave her the receipt number and said, go into the store and just show them the receipt, because if you don't know, all gift vouchers have a number on them and they're easily traced to see if they've been spent or not. And if you've got your receipt and you can show the gift voucher number, they can just reissue it. So she goes into the store and says, hey, I've lost my gift voucher. It was $500. My boyfriend bought it. This is the receipt. It's got the number on. The lady at the store looks it up and goes, that's been spent. And she goes, I haven't spent it. What? And the lady goes, yeah, and then pulls out the receipt, because, you know, when you use a gift voucher, you sign for it on the receipt.
Yeah.
This girl, who was like the girlfriend, was not smart enough to not sign her real name.
What a dumbass.
She signed her real name, probably thinking that it would never, like, no one would ever connect the dot.
What a dumbass.
And on top of that, she had the audacity to then wear the clothes that she bought with the gift voucher, because it was for, like, a particular designer store, so it was obvious. I think it was for, like, Camilla or something like that. Yeah. In front of her in the house.
So how did it get resolved?
So basically, the girl whose gift voucher it was went home and saw our other housemate's girlfriend wearing the clothes that she had used the gift voucher that she had stolen, and confronted her, being like, you've stolen, like, that's my gift voucher. You signed your name. Like, I have a copy of the signed receipt. This girl just doubled down. She gas keeps girl bossed her and was just like, no. Flat out denied it, even though back then it was like, you know how you would, if you've ever worked in retail, when you were taking a gift voucher, someone would sign their name and you would check their ID as well. Yeah. So it was like 100% it was her name was on the receipt when she spent it. Like, the store gave her a copy and she just kept denying. So I'm just getting messages from everyone, and I'm living in London, so I'm, like, not there, but I'm finding out all the details. And the guy was like, he was in that sort of love bubble where he just wouldn't believe that she would do that. And he's like, she didn't do it. I'm like, look, I think it's kind of obvious she did because, 4 people in that house that could have taken it. And there's only one that was dumb enough to sign a name on when she spent it.
Yeah, yes.
And this store also had security cameras. So eventually they just kept saying, no. The girl's whose gift voucher it was, she had to go to the police.
I was about to say that would be the only option.
Yeah, because she's like, it was $500 and I don't want this person in the house at all. Like, she's clearly not trustworthy. And, like, it broke down, like, the house dynamics. Like, everyone was very, like, not okay at that time. And so she had to go to the police. The police had to get the tapes. It was clearly her spending it. Still, she denied it. And he just would not believe it. He was just in this love bubble. He could not believe it. He's like, no, it must be a mistake. She told me that she had also received a gift voucher and that she must have picked up the other girls by accident when she had a gift voucher off her mum.
So dodgy.
Like, grasping at straws, anything to, like, just justify it. Till eventually where she did cave and be like, well, fine, I'll get you another gift voucher, but I just want you to know, like she said this in the message, I did not take yours, but I just can't handle this drama and I'm an adult, so I'm going to replace it. And I said, no way, if I didn't steal something, would I be replacing a $500 gift voucher? Like, I would be like, go to the police. I did not do it. Like, you've got no proof. But yeah, it was just a crazy drama-filled time.
Did they stay together?
They ended up getting married.
Stop it.
Yes.
Fucking hell. Steal some shit from their wishing well.
Well, none of us were invited.
Oh, clearly.
Because I said that she was a thief and that was apparently a straw too
was
far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that destroyed the dynamics of that house and everyone eventually just ended up moving out after that and no one kind of associated with him anymore.
Wow. I've said it before. I have had a bloody good run with living with people.
Well,
good God.
I was just happy that I was in London. I was just getting the gossip, but not being actually, like, involved in the situation. Because I think there's nothing worse than if you've got, like, bad vibes in your house. Like, when that was going on, it would have just been not nice to be there.
You just don't even want to come out of your room. It wasn't even super deceitful. We had this guy move in. He was a bit of a grub, so we did end up kicking him out because he was a bit of a grub. But he moved in and he was living with us for a bit, and I didn't know, but he had one arm, and I had no idea he had one arm. Like, it wasn't super deceitful. It just never came up. And when he moved in when it was winter, so he was always wearing sweaters. So the part of the arm that should have been an arm, like, it was always sort of tucked into, like, the front of a sweater. So it was like one day he asked me, and I look back at it now and I'm like, I'm such a dumb fuck. He asked me, he's like, oh, can you open the oven for me and put this in the oven for me? I'm like, do it your fucking self. I'm not your mum. And he's like, I can't. And I'm like, why can't you? He had one arm, and you can't, like, put, like, a tray of anything into the thing. So, yeah, I clearly helped him. But, yeah, for a while, no idea. And then to my other housemate, I was like, he's only got one fucking arm. And here I am being like an ableist bitch to this poor bastard. And I just had no idea. So, yeah, that was my little brief touch.
So I've got another Am I the Arsehole from Reddit. Am I the arsehole for putting my housemate's dog in a kennel and footing her with the bill? This is a short story, but it does need a lot of context, so here's some background. Me and my housemate moved in together a few years ago and we were friends for a long time beforehand. And despite the usual housemate quibbles, we've gotten along pretty great during that time. We both work and contribute 50-50 to the bills and the chores. Then she got a dog. We agreed that it was fine that was to get a dog, so long as she understood that it was her dog and I wouldn't be taking on any of the tasks like caring for the dog. I work a very demanding job and I simply just don't have the time for a pet. She was fine with this, so she got the dog. In the time that she has had this dog, she has gone on a great number of trips where she hasn't been able to take her dog. I've agreed each time that I would take care of the dog while she was away, since I understand that you can't always bring your animals along with you. She has a habit of extending her trips away last minute, as in the day that she was due to come back, leaving me stuck with her dog. It's annoying and I've brought it up many times, but she keeps doing this. Now to the current situation. She was going away and needed me to look after the dog. I agreed, but I told her multiple times that I had a family holiday planned and she would need to be back on the day that we agreed upon. So it is the day that she is due back, and once again I get a message telling me that she's not going to be back today and she's going to extend her holiday for a few days later. I messaged her back and told her that I was going away the next day and she needed to be home because there will be no one home to take care of her dog. She doesn't reply. I message her again, still no reply. I wasn't about to cancel my long planned holiday for the sake of her poor timing and planning, but I also wasn't okay with leaving the dog on its own. So I contacted a local kennel. It was a very nice doggy hotel. I was sure to research it to make sure it was a good, reputable place, and I explained the situation when booking the dog in. I messaged her once again and told her that I dropped her dog off and told her where she could pick her dog up and how long he was booked in for, and that she needed to pay when she arrived. Then I rushed to get to the station on time for my train to go on my holiday. Suddenly, she was able to message me back. She sends me a long ranting message about how she cannot afford that kennel and how irresponsible I was for handing her dog off to some random people and that it wasn't my place to do that. I messaged her back saying that I had no choice. I messaged her about it and she needed to deal with it. I spoke to my family about it and they are divided on whether what I did was right or not. I'm not really sure if I did the right thing. Am I the arsehole?
I don't think that you are the asshole. I think that, they said it, the original poster said it really well when they said their poor planning shouldn't impact my plans. They said something along the lines of that. And I think you're already doing someone a solid looking after their dog in the first place. Like, I go away a bit and I have a dog. I live with my sister. And from I never expect her to look after him. Sometimes it's like a treat that she can, but I never, I might have to drop him somewhere because it's not her responsibility. So I think this person has gone above and beyond to look after this animal when they didn't really need to because they're a good person.
And really, it's like you play silly games, you win silly prizes.
Yeah.
Like, did not reply back on purpose, probably thinking once again this person would cave. And even though she knew that this person had a holiday to go on, she just didn't care enough. She was selfish and she cared more about her getting to extend her trip than her housemate that she should have some sort of like caring for. They've lived together for a while to be able to do a holiday of their own.
Yeah. If it's such a problem, go pick your dog up from the kennel before it gets more expensive.
And if you can afford to extend your trip for a few days, you can afford to pay for that kennel.
Yeah, totally.
And it's funny how she was able to message back once this person said, your dog's at a kennel. This is the price it's going to be.
Yeah, I reckon the person with the dog's the asshole. I hope, and by the sounds of it, at least the dog was well looked after. How awful would you feel leaving the dog in the house?
Yeah.
Like, not knowing when someone's going to come back.
Yeah, I think this person was quite, like, responsible because they could have left that dog there because it isn't their responsibility. They've told that person multiple times.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that, and they did the right thing and made sure it was going to be looked after. Yeah. Let's read some of the comments. So, definitely has been voted not the a-hole. Isn't it funny that she could magically find time to answer you when she actually had a price to pay for her extended leave? But whatever, Rumi gets her extended vacation, you get to keep yours, and the dog is still cared for. Seriously, though, you are not obligated to sacrifice your plans to allow your roomie to extend hers. I would refuse to watch the dog ever again. Point out how often she has done this and doesn't ever return on time, and the fact that you didn't want this dog to begin with. And someone else wrote under that comment, also point out the fact that if she can pay to extend these trips, she can pay to be a responsible pet owner. It is her responsibility to make sure her dog is taken care of, and if that is a kennel, that is something she needs to factor in.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people saying if she can pay to extend her trip, she can pay for the kennel.
It's interesting. I've never lived with other people's pets. I've always been the person with the pet. And Ruben, I mean, when he was a puppy, because I got him quite suddenly, he would have been a bit of a shit of a puppy to be with. I feel sorry for my housemate then was really lovely. Like, just little things like my housemate had a girl over and she must have had her period, and Ruben got into their, like, sanitary bin and took sanitary products to his bed and then was chewing on it. And I came home and saw him, and my housemate had no idea, and no one had any idea. And I thought he'd hurt himself because he had blood on him. But no, he was chewing on
a dirty tampon.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's just so much shit coming out of that. And I was just like, this is fucked. And then I realised it wasn't even mine. And I was like, oh, my God. So I just, like, quietly dealt with it because I was like, this is a nice girl that my housemates brought home. She is, they're dating each other. How mortifying for her. Like, and I just said to him, oh, look, like, maybe just, like, put your bin up or, like, because he's a dumb dog, or shut your bathroom door and he won't get in there.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of when I lived in London in another shared house. Of course.
All these London files.
Well,
yeah.
You get what you pay for. And I was very broke at the time and London was expensive. So dodgy share house as it was.
Yeah.
But I remember I moved into this share house and I was only there for 2 months because it was just like dodgy. There was only one other woman that lived there. And it was the grossest thing. They had a bin in the bathroom and it wasn't a bin with a lid. It was like a completely open bin. And obviously, when her period was, she would just stick her dirty tampons just in the bin. You could clearly see them. Like, she didn't even do, like, the discreet where you wrap it up in the toilet paper and you put it in the bottom. She must have just been taking them out and just chucking them in the bin.
Enough.
And the fact that, like, before me, it was just her, the only female.
Yeah, didn't give a shit. And that's part of it. You live
Like,
with
all the other people there would be like, it's clearly you.
Yeah.
You're the only one with the uterus.
Yeah.
Like, and they didn't, like, I'm like, has this been brought up? Has anyone, because I've just moved in and, like, this is happening. I'm like, I would be saying something because I, as a female, I don't even want to see other people's tampons. Like, and it happens to me every month. Like, what are these guys doing? Like, are they okay with just seeing, like, literally dirty, bloody tampons? You just chuck them on the top of the bin, like, plain as day.
Ruben would have had a bloody field day if he was there. And I think it's like a big wake-up call when you live with other people where their boundaries lie in terms of cleanliness.
And the bin was right next to the bathroom sink where you brush your teeth.
Yeah. Ugh. And that maybe for her was just fine. Did anyone ever bring it up?
I don't know, because I did just not stay there for long enough because they were also the kind of people that would just use your hygiene products.
Ew.
Like, to the point where I couldn't leave hygiene stuff in the bathroom because they would use it, like toothpaste.
Oh, you're joking. So you'd have to go into your own bathroom with like a little toilet.
Yeah, I used to have to take it because one day I left it and I realised they had all just gone through it and used my shampoos, and like shampoo, it's like not unhygienic to use someone else's, but toothpaste, when you're putting, like, you scrape it across your toothbrush.
Yeah, true, of course.
There's so many people in this house and it's clearly been used a few times and they've all scraped their dirty toothbrush and I'm like, this is so gross. And my deodorant, which was roll-on, had clearly been used.
Oh, yuck. And you're just like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah,
this is like a backpacker's.
When I'd gotten there, it had been clear that no one had cleaned the bathroom in quite a while.
Ugh.
So, yeah, I was like, stayed at a lot of places, but this is not it. I left.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm just so lucky. Most people I live with are fucking legends. Okay. Am I the asshole for changing the lock so my landlord can't enter? I, 31 male, have a breaking and entering charge from trying to enter my girlfriend's place to take back some of my stuff she took when we were breaking up, like bedding and CDs.
CDs.
Yeah, I know.
How old is this?
I know. Like, wait a minute. A year! Maybe he just collects them. I don't know. CDs are Frisbees these days. I wonder if he has a Discman. Anyways. She called the cops and I got unfairly charged and prosecuted. Because of this, I couldn't find a place to live. I also have an old DUI. I'm now 3 years sober. So the insurance for any vehicle is also insanely high, to the point it's cheaper for me to use Ubers to get around. So I need a place near work and it's been almost impossible to find one. Finally, I found a woman who was renting out a basement suite. She said she wanted a non-smoker and asked me 3 times. I said I didn't smoke because I was desperate for a place and I wouldn't smoke inside. But she came without giving me proper notice. She gave me 15 hours notice, not 24 hours notice, which is the law, and saw cigarette butts on the steps of my place. I was smoking outside and freaked out and demanded that I leave. I wanted to sign for a year, but she refused, only letting me sign for 3 months because of my credit was bad. She forced me to let her into the apartment to check the damage and reassure her that I wasn't smoking inside. I did use my brother as a reference because I didn't have great luck with having a good relationship with previous landlords. And she found out that it was my brother and threatened legal action for using a fake reference. But he wasn't fake and I did pay rent to him about a year ago. She began checking up on the place every 2 weeks, claiming she was checking for damage, even though I said I would leave after my lease. So he's done the 3 months lease, said he would leave. It's all going to custard by the sounds of it. I then started seeing a girl and I was really interested in. We began dating after a few months. The landlord showed up at my place again to inspect the place and she and my girlfriend started talking. She told the girlfriend that I had a break and enter and a DUI charge. I have no idea how she found out. My girlfriend then stopped talking to me because of it. I'm sure it's illegal for her to disclose my personal information like that, and I've changed the locks to my place and refused to let her in. She has sent me a letter stating the eviction process, and I'm sure it will take them months to evict me, and it will make it even harder for me to find a place in the future. And that's the end of that wild story. There are many layers to this.
It sounds like it's always everyone else's fault but his for why his life is not going so well. Like, first it was his girlfriend because he had to break into her house to get his CDs.
Yep.
And then he got charged with that, which, like, isn't an easy process to go forward to get those charges, like, you know, to go to court.
Yep.
And then it's like, well, he had a DUI. And then what else? He had bad credit rating.
He said he was a non-smoker. He was a smoker.
Like, flat out lied just because he and like, I get it. Like, sometimes you got to twist it. And then it's like he only got 15 hours, not 24, which, you know, you're meant to get 24. But if you know that person, would you not just start to, like, clean up? Because obviously cigarette smoke hangs around.
It's very triggering for someone. I think some of the comments really hit the nail on the head here. This one just says, bullet 1, the break and enter was fairly charged as you did not have permission to enter your ex's place. Bullet 2, you lied to your landlord and you said you didn't smoke when you did. Bullet 3, so long as you did get a proper lease, she did break the lease with 15 hours. Bullet 4, changing the locks without giving your landlord the keys is you violating the lease. You are the asshole on so many accounts. And someone else said, I like how he had 15 hours notice and still didn't bother to clean up. Still had... Someone said, also, who breaks into their ex's place for CDs? This isn't 1997.
That is the best comment. Doesn't seem like his life's going that great, but he's the kind of person that it's everyone else's fault but his own bad decisions.
Actually, that's what someone else has commented. But original poster feels like none of his lying crimes are his fault. But it seems like the original poster now plans to force the landlord to go through the court system to evict him, which will only compound his issues. Original poster original poster, get your life together. Stop lying. Stop breaking the law. Stop leaving your trash out in the open. What a garbage human. Yeah. So sounds like a criminal. Sounds like it's always everyone else, never me. Thank God the new girlfriend, like the landlord, gave her the heads up on what she's getting herself into.
And she probably found out all that stuff, the landlord, probably from doing a background check after the fact that she is now having to go to the courts to evict him. That's probably how it all came to light. Yes,
and I think we hear lots of things, and I guess we've all been victim of having a shit landlord it's pretty average. When you do have a shit landlord, there is that bit of power balance, like you're in their home. They sort of do... They can kick you out, But this is definitely an instance where it's like this person has totally overstepped their boundaries and done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like a scumbag,
It sounds like a him problem.
This one's am I the asshole? And this poster has asked, am I the asshole for telling people who come to see the apartment not to rent it because the landlord did not respect my privacy? I'm currently renting an apartment, but my lease is ending and I'm moving out next month. The landlord has started to look for new tenants. Yesterday he told me he has found a potential tenant and they will be surveying the apartment at 2 p.m. I agreed. Around 1:40 p.m. he texted me saying the people will be a bit late. I said okay. Around 2:20 he told me they will be coming around at 3:10 p.m. I told him I can wait, but they need to be really quick coming through as I need to be out the house by 3:30 p.m. and for sure I did not want them surveying the house without me there. He said that is okay. At 3:15 I texted him to see if they were coming. No answer. 3:30 p.m. I called him. He did not pick up. I sent him a text asking that I have to go out to my dental appointment and he needed to reschedule the meeting. He did not reply. About 30 minutes later, I received a call from my neighbour saying there was random guys entering my apartment. I rushed home. The dental clinic was only 2 apartment blocks away from my house and found the owner had entered the apartment using his copy of the keys. I was furious. I told him off. He told me he has the right as the owner to enter the house whenever he wanted. Yes, as it was stated in the contract, but this is legal. I called bullshit and told the people he brought over if this is the kind of landlord they are expecting to go for it. The landlord has no respect over the tenant privacy or security. The people apologised and left. The landlord slammed the door in my face and left as well. I just got a text from him asking me to apologise for what I said to him. Apparently, I will not get my bond deposit back until I apologise. Am I the asshole and should I apologise?
I hope he put that in writing, that he's not going to give a bond deposit back until he apologises, because if this is a story in Australia, that would be very interesting to submit to the RTA.
So illegal. And this, I can tell by the spelling that this must be an American story. Must be different because in Australia, you get notice that they're coming through. You don't really need to be there, or you can if you choose to, but you don't need to. So this sounds like it might be a privately set up.
Yeah, through a landlord, not a real estate, but the same rules apply. Well, I've just moved out and I've actually had like something like that happen in Australia, and I've seen this on TikTok, thank you TikTok, that when you move out, on the day that you move out, you can submit to the RTA to get your bond back, and then the real estate's only got like a certain period of time to do it, and it makes them have to do stuff within that time because otherwise they just drag it out forever because they don't care. So on the day that, like, I left the keys, we did all the clean, it was our day, I straight away submitted it because I knew then she would have to go through. Half an hour later, I get a call from her being like, you can't submit to the RTA to get your bond back. So I decided to play dumb, being like, what do you mean? I thought that's what you're meant to do to get your bond back. And she's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you need to go back, log back on, take that off. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like,
and she's lying.
Yeah, so then my real estate was like, I've not scheduled to come and look at your place until sometime next week. I can't. So obviously she wasn't going to be able to view the place within that time. And she was then like panicking, telling me I had to take my claim away. And I just kept being like, I don't know how to do that. Like, but I'm not going to wait. I want my bond back.
Yeah.
I've just had to pay bond for another place. Like, this is my money. The place is left perfectly. And she's like, well, I don't know when I'm going to find time to view it. I was like, that's a you problem, not a me problem. But I was still being very nice, being like, oh, just playing dumb, because obviously I don't want them to try to find.
Yeah,
like,
you don't want to make it harder for yourself.
Yeah. And then she's like, and you still owe money. You can't get your bond back until you pay. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, there's $170 on your account still owing. And I was like, how is that possible? I get it direct debited and it's the same amount every single week. Like, where did this 170 come from? Yeah. And she's like, you just owe 170. Well, can you please send me an invoice? I get an invoice and it just says owing 170. And so I sent back being like, can you please itemize this invoice for what this 170?
Or even just send the ledger.
Yeah.
Where's the ledger at?
Because I'm like, I can literally see my account, the exact same number every single week coming out. This 170 has been sorted out now.
You're joking.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Well, because they've done this 3 times since I've lived there, where they've told me I am behind. They've even issued me a breach notice. And God. I've had to say, prove it. Yeah. And each time they've had to take it back. Ugh. 3 times. And I don't know whether they do it because they're just terrible at their jobs or whether people panic and then pay it.
Yes.
But I'm like, I can clearly see the money has left my account, so you need to prove it. This real estate's also said to me, oh, well, you know, you still have a water usage bill that will be coming and we can't do your bond until that's coming. I said, when will that bill be? She's like, oh, within a month or so. That's like the end of the quarter. You can't do my bond for another month because of this water usage bill. I'm like, garbage. I just don't feel like that's the truth. Not to mention, I'm like, shouldn't you get my meter read the day I move out?
Yeah, because then otherwise it's clocking up for
the next people.
Yeah. Like that's similar. On the other side of the foot, I had so you can, and we're so lucky in Australia that everything is so controlled with the bond system and how we hold funds. And yeah, something similar happened to me. And it's the best position to be in to have the claim in with the RTA. I had a apartment block that I found out of my neighbours that no one was getting their bond back. Because the apartment block, the owners of it, and it was at Bowen Hills again, they, as soon as you would move out, they put the claim on it, and people would just think, oh, it's the apartment block taking their time to get their bond back. By the time the claim had ran out, they just kept your money. They're like, oh, we put a claim in and you didn't respond to it, so too bad. And they just would keep it. So, oh my gosh, like, it is just chaos out there. Well, back to this story. I don't know. Sounds like, the person gave him notice that they were coming in. They were late and he had an appointment. It sounds like a bit of a shit show there. I don't know.
When you do, give the notice for entry, it is for a time period. And, obviously this story isn't in Australia. It's just for, a half an hour or 1 hour. They can't do an all-day thing. Yeah. And so after that time, if they enter, it's illegal. They've broken the law. So, and then if this person has said, look, it's been hours since you were meant to be here, you've probably rearranged your schedule. Yeah. Tough luck. I'm sorry, but you have to let me know. And this landlord still did it. But I can't believe the landlord's like, I'm not going to give you your bond back until you give me an apology. What are you, a toddler?
Gosh. Well, I don't think the person is the asshole, and I don't think they should apologise. And the landlord undid themselves when they said, oh, I can come and go as I please in front of someone new.
Just because you put it in a contract doesn't make it legal.
Yeah, and that's illegal. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, so let's finish off with one more story, and this is from Petty Revenge.
I love it already. Petty Revenge.
Yeah, this is a great subreddit. Roommates stopped contributing, so we left them with nothing. This happened during my junior year of college. I, Claire, lived with 5 other women. I'll call them Abby, Brooke, Danny, Ella, and Fran. We signed a lease on a house and we agreed to a 1-year deal. This house was an off-campus, unfurnished, so we needed to get things to make it feel like home. Prior to moving in, we all sat down and decided what we needed for the house and who was going to bring what. We also settled on a chore schedule. We also decided that we would have household supplies fund set up so that we could buy general use items like toilet paper, paper towel, dish detergent, laundry detergent, and stuff like that. As it turns out, Danny, Ella, Frances, and I brought most of the stuff that we needed, like couches, small dining table, dishwasher, silverware, and so forth. Things were doing pretty well during fall semester. Shortly after that, however, things started to decline. Abby's boyfriend, Andy, basically moved in with us, and the two of them started to act like they owned the place. They left dirty dishes in the sink and then would leave passive-aggressive notes on how rude it was to leave dirty dishes in the sink even though it was their dirty dishes. So they obviously think it's someone else's because they've just forgotten that it's theirs. And then they're like, how rude, this person's
There's a whole
just...
man living there. The boyfriend's just moved in.
But it's like, how rude someone to leave their dishes in the sink just forgetting it is theirs.
Yeah.
I come home from the library after it closes at midnight. Abby and Andy went to bed at 10, and if you so much as woke them up, there was hell to pay. Pretty soon, Brooke and her boyfriend Brad were acting pretty much the same. By early February, it was clear to Danny, Ella, Fran, and me that we did not want to live with Abby and Brooke for another year. The four of us found a different off-campus place and signed a lease. We let Abby and Brooke know, and then from then on, the two of them plus their boyfriends went from being partial jerks to complete jerks. They would do things like stop the washing machine midway through a wash and take our clothes out and dump them on the floor to start their own laundry. They used up all of the hot water by taking super long showers. They would write return to sender on our mail.
Holy shit.
They destroyed the flowers our boyfriends sent to us.
Oh my God. Petty revenge.
Yes.
For what? For them moving out?
Yes.
Oh, why would you want to stay?
Yeah, you're kind of proving the point of why they needed to move out.
Yeah.
They stopped contributing to the shared supply fund and stopped doing chores. About a week before Memorial Day, Ellie got a call from the landlord on our new place saying that the previous tenants had moved out and we could move in earlier if we would like at no charge. Danny, Ella, and Fran and I discussed this, and we decided we needed to get out of our current house ASAP, but didn't tell Abby or Brooke of our plans. Memorial Day weekend rolls around, and Abby, Brooke, and their boyfriends head out of town to go camping, while the rest of us put our plans into action. With the help of our friends, we got all of our stuff moved out. And when I say all, I mean all. The living room furniture, the dining room, the furniture, the dishes, the silverware, the cookware, the food storage containers, baking supplies, shower curtains, rugs, lamps, vacuums, brooms, dustpans, and etc. We also decided that since neither Abby nor Brooke had contributed to the shared household supply fund since March, the toilet paper and paper towel, dishwasher detergent, laundry detergent, and so forth was all of ours, and we took all of it. Abby and Brooke and their boyfriends were so shocked when they returned from their camping trip to a completely empty house. What made our petty revenge even sweeter was that on their way home from camping, all four of them got food poisoning and was really sick. The scathing text we got about moving out unannounced and taking all of the shared household goods, especially the toilet paper, or having food poisoning and no toilet paper.
You would have been puckering on that drive home.
That's perfect timing. Priceless. Danny, Ella, Fran, and I are all great friends and are still having a good laugh about the situation 12 years later. None of us ever heard from Abby and Brooke since graduation.
Wow. I mean, I feel like they were really petty and they got what was coming to them. And that's just like part of what it is.
Karma.
When you move out and take what you bought.
Someone picked up on what I picked up on, diarrhea and vomiting with no paper towel or toilet paper. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, well, they're probably using the towels like the other
And then
person.
someone else has written underneath, and no soap afterwards either.
Oh, yuck.
And then another person has written underneath that, or shower curtain, or towels.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit of karma.
There's just a lot of comments about make it clear to anyone that you are sharing a place with about the situation with boyfriends or girlfriends and what is acceptable for how many nights over they can stay. Well, that is it for the wild yarns about the housing and real estates and dodgy ass landlords for this episode.
I knew that there was a lot of tea to be spilt, but I didn't expect so many people to write in and such robust stories as well. So who knows? We might revisit this one.
Yeah, well, we did not have time to feature all of them. We have way more stories, so we probably will be revisiting this. And we're definitely going to put up some that didn't make it on here onto Instagram and to our TikTok. So make sure you follow us on all the socials. So we've got, all of the podcast platforms. It's Wild Yarns under everything. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Don't forget to go and check us out there, and you can submit your own stories through the socials or also on our Reddit page as well if you want to be involved. We love hearing your stories. We love sharing them, so definitely do that, and don't forget to check us out on everything.
So until next time, everybody.